Hey team, Yasin here, and in this training, we're going to be going over becoming your version 2.0 self. Now, this is a very, very, very exciting training because this is the final training inside of module number 2. And this training is really going to go ahead and put everything together that we have spoken about inside of this entire module and put it together in a way that is actionable for you and is executable by you every single day. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive right in to this training and all of the awesome things that we're going to go ahead and talk about. So the very first thing I want to talk to you about inside of this training is you become by doing. Okay, so once you've actually designed your North Stars, which is your what, your why, your who, and your transformation statements, then at that time, it's time to get busy doing. Now, I do want to go ahead and emphasize that before you get into this training, okay, this is very absolutely critical. You should have already gone ahead and completed all of the action steps, all of the worksheets that preceded this specific training. If you have not completed your version 1.0 self worksheet, all of the activities related to breaking your current identity, if you have not completed creating your transformation statements, your what, your why, your who, your North Stars, you do not want to do this training. This is absolutely critical because this training is going to compile all of that, and none of this is going to make sense to you. None of this is going to be actionable for you unless you actually go ahead and complete all of the activities from the previous training. So what we're talking about here is once you get all of that done, it's time to get busy doing. And why is that the case? The reason that's the case is because you become by doing it, okay? You become by doing. And so you become by doing the things that the type of person who does those things does. And so you always have to remember this. Change happens by doing consistently and persistently over time. So once you have designed who you are becoming, we now have to get busy stacking rocks and casting votes every single day. And so every time that you consciously choose a different action, a different behavior, a different thought that is in alignment with the type of person that you are becoming, what you're actually doing is you're actually casting a vote. You're actually casting a rock for who this new person is going to become, okay? And so this is what it looks like visually. When you start this process, initially you're going to have a bunch of rocks, a bunch of votes that you have casted to your version 1.0 self. But then the more you do this, what's going to end up happening is that you're casting those votes and you're stacking those rocks on the other end of the scale. And eventually you get to the point that there is more evidence to that new identity, and then you end up becoming your version 2.0 self. This is exactly the same way that it works for your identity as well, right? So all of this is at a macro and a micro level. In the beginning, you have your version 1.0 identity. It's strong because that's the way that you've been casting your votes. It's strong because that's the way that you've been stacking the rocks. But then over time, the more you do this process, the more it's going to go ahead and stack on the other side. And then you're going to have your version 2.0 identity, right? The same thing with each of your identity statements, right? Again, this is on the macro and on the micro. So each of your identity statements that you currently identify with on your version 1.0 self. In the beginning, there's not enough votes, not enough rocks that are stacked on that side. But then the more that you start to consciously, like we talked about in the Prisoner of Thoughts and Emotions training, the more that you consciously stack those votes and you choose different behaviors, you choose different actions, you choose different thoughts, the more those rocks are going to stack on the other side of the scale. Now, this also applies for all of your beliefs as well. So each and every single one of your beliefs, the same exact process applies, right? So you have your version 1.0 belief on here, and then the more you stack those rocks and cast those votes, you eventually end up with your version 2.0 belief on the other side, okay? And so it's all about casting votes to reprogram our brain to be able to create those new synapse ruts. Remember what we talked about in declaring ourselves broken and how our brain has those ruts, right? And so when the votes start to mount up, the rocks start to stack up, the evidence begins to change, and the story that you tell yourself is going to begin to change as well. And so new identities require new evidence. If you keep casting the same votes that you've always cast, then you're going to get the same results that you've always had, okay? And so this is a very important quote that I really like, is that you don't think yourself into a new way of living, you live yourself into a better way of thinking. Think about how profound that actually is, okay? And so the biggest thing out of all of this is that you want to always make sure that you are not beating yourself up, okay? Was every single day going to be perfect? No. In fact, most of the days, many of the days are not going to be perfect days. However, if you remember what we spoke about in declaring ourselves broken, change takes time. You have to give yourself grace. And the good news is that you don't need to be perfect. In every single election, there are going to be votes that are stacking for both sides. And so you don't need a unanimous vote in order to win the election. You just need to have the majority. And so it doesn't matter if you cast a few votes for a bad belief or an unproductive habit or a disempowering identity statement. Your goal is to simply win the majority of the time, right? But then the next question that you might have is, hey, Yasin, okay, but how do I do the work in order to stack these rocks, in order to cast these votes? How do I do that work in a way that is organized for me? How do I do that in a way that I can cast the votes every single day and remember what direction I need to head and what direction I need to cast those votes? And that's a great question, because that is exactly what I want to go ahead and introduce you to right now, which is the Becoming Journal. And the reason that I'm so excited to introduce you to the Becoming Journal is because the Becoming Journal really is the culmination of literally thousands of hours of testing and experimentation on my part over the course of the last decade to really be able to find what is the best way to package this entire becoming process, right? Everything that we've spoken about over the last couple trainings as well as over the entire module. How do we package all of that in one place that is executable and actionable for us? And that best way is the Becoming Journal. It's literally the one-stop shop where all of your work that you did when you were designing your version 2.0 self, all of that is going to come together inside of the Becoming Journal, okay? So what we're going to go ahead and do right now is, before I actually give you a idea of what the Becoming Journal looks like, before I go ahead and actually pull it up and we go over to the mini training for the Becoming Journal, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and give you an overview of the Becoming Journal so you can understand what each of the pages represent, okay? So inside of the Becoming Journal, as you're going to see when we go ahead and open it up, there are 9 pages. There's a cover page, instructions page, key things to remember, the Becoming Tracker, okay? We have our what North Star, our why, our who, our transformation statements, as well as our daily Becoming Journal entry. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I wanted to go ahead and highlight a couple specific pages so that way you understand what it is that we're going to be looking at here, okay? So the very first thing I want to go ahead and emphasize is on the instructions page. Now on the instructions page, when we go ahead and open it up, you're going to notice that there is something that is called a theme, and there is an expiration date, okay? So what you're going to be doing as the action step for this training is you're going to be compiling this Becoming Journal, and this Becoming Journal is going to have a specific theme that is going to be represented over the course of the next 90 days. So this is going to be, okay, who am I becoming over the next 90 days, okay? And you're gonna have a theme for the type of identity that you are embodying over the next 90 days. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna set an expiration date for this specific Becoming Journal. And the reason we do that is because the biggest way that this does not work, the way that the Becoming Journal ends up not being revolutionary for your life, is if it becomes stagnant. You might remember, maybe you've done this when you were younger, is you went ahead and put like a quote or something that you wanted to remember on the wall. And then after like a couple months, that quote basically became a part of the wall, right? It became a part of the thing that you don't even really pay attention to anymore. And so by setting these themes every 90 days and then updating and revising and making sure that it's the most up to date, and then setting an expiration date, it goes ahead and allows us to make sure that the Becoming Journal continues to stay as a revolutionary device inside of our lives. Okay, so that is on the instructions page. We're going to go over the rest of the instructions page when we actually look at the Becoming Journal. The next page that I want to go ahead and walk you through right now is going to be the What North Star page. And so as you're going to notice on the Becoming Journal What page, we basically have this page on the right, okay? And what you're going to be doing on this page is you're going to be taking all of the dream worksheet, all of the what, clear what worksheet work that you went ahead and did inside of the previous training, right? The overall, the health, the wealth, the relationships, your connection to something greater. And we're going to go ahead and take from that worksheet all of the things that are going to be relevant to us over the next 90 days, as well as all of the stuff that's going to be the most motivational and inspiring for us, okay? So we might not be able to fit everything that is on that clear what worksheet. We might not be able to fit everything, but we're going to take the images, the statements, all of that is what we're going to go ahead and put onto the Becoming Journal what page, okay? And then we're going to go ahead and do the exact same thing for the why page, okay? So if you remember, this is why it's so absolutely critical before you actually go through this specific training. You have to make sure that you've gone ahead and finished all of the pages and all of the worksheets from the previous training, okay? So we're going to go ahead and take all of the things that we talked about in the powerful why worksheet, and we're now going to go ahead and put them onto the Becoming Journal's why page. And again, remember, this might only be relevant to the theme and what might only be relevant to the timeline that we're in and what this Becoming Journal that you're going to compile for is. And then the rest of the work that you've done, you will still be able to use it in upcoming Becoming Journals as well that you make for yourself every 90 days, okay? Then the next one on here is going to be the who North Star, right? And so the exact same process here. All of the things that you did for the Designing Your Version 2.0 Self worksheet, all of that is going to be translated over to the Becoming Journal who page, okay? And again, I'm going to go ahead and dive more into this when we go ahead and look into the Becoming Journal itself. And then this entire process is the exact same thing that we're going to go ahead and do for the transformation statements page as well, right? So the transformation statements activity, that worksheet that you went ahead and compiled in which you took all of your disempowering character traits and identity statements, and then you went ahead and shifted them using the transformation formula, the transformation statement formula. You're going to go ahead and take those identity statements and character traits, and you're going to put them onto the page that is for the transformation statements inside of the Becoming Journal. And then the same thing you're going to do for the beliefs as well. So you can really see that this training right here is just a compilation of all of the work that you have already previously done. And that's how it kind of all builds together in order to compile this massively amazing, very useful tool, which is the Becoming Journal, okay? And then the last page of the Becoming Journal is what is known as the Daily Becoming Journal entry. And the Daily Becoming Journal entry is kind of like a mini journal that you're going to be keeping as you are going through this becoming process. I'm going to walk you through more of what is inside of the Daily Becoming Journal entry once we look at the actual Becoming Journal. But what I want to do is I want to go ahead and really focus on 3 specific questions that are located inside of the Daily Journal entry. That is going to be this one right here, this one right here, and this one right here, okay? So what is it that I do have? What is it that I did get done? And what is it that I do want, okay? And I want to go ahead and talk to you about that here briefly. And the reason why this is very important for me to talk to you about is because it's a very common misunderstanding and something that many people don't actually know, which is that the subconscious brain does not actually understand negatives. And I'm going to go ahead and prove this to you right now. I'm going to go ahead and say right now, don't think about pink elephants. You are listening to me right now inside of this training. Do not think about pink elephants. Pink elephants, do not think about them. Why are you thinking about pink elephants? And so even though I'm telling you, hey, don't think about a pink elephant, I bet the only thing that you were able to focus on, the only thing that you were able to think about was a pink elephant, even though I had the word not there. And so a lot of people don't understand that this is how the subconscious brain works. And many people end up focusing on what they don't want to think about. They end up focusing on what they don't have. They end up focusing on what they don't want. And then so in reality, the subconscious brain is just hearing the actual statement. So let me go ahead and show you what that means over here, right? So most people focus on what they did not get done in the day, right? So they say, hey, I did not get this project done. I did not get this task done. And then all that does is it creates more pressure and noise, even if they did get other things done, right? Most people in life focus on what they don't have, right? I don't have money. I don't have the health that I want. I don't have the relationship that I want. I don't have the sense of purpose that I want. And so whatever you focus on grows and expands and increases. And so when you focus on not having enough money, then guess what? You not having enough money, that starts to increase and you don't have enough money even more, right? But then when you focus on the money that you do have, that's exactly what grows. The same thing goes for what it is that you don't want to have happen. And so many people say to themselves, hey, I don't want to be poor. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to lose my spouse. I don't want to die early. And then because the subconscious brain does not process negatives, the only thing that the brain hears is poor, broke, lose my spouse, die early. And then as a result, that's what they end up getting more of. And just to go ahead and give you a parenting tip for this as well, this same process is actually applicable for kids also, because for kids, their conscious minds have not yet developed. And so when their parent says, hey son, hey daughter, don't make noise, what the only thing that the kid hears is make noise. which is kind of funny, right? And so as a result, the kid ends up making more noise. And so you're like, don't make noise. And the kid only hears, make noise. And so this is the difference. And this understanding is the difference between putting yourself in scarcity mode versus in abundance mode. This is the difference between being in the gap and this is being in the gain. So instead, what you want to do when you're doing this daily journal becoming entry is you want to focus on what it is that you did get done. You want to focus on what it is that you do have. You want to focus on what it is that you do want every single day. And that is exactly what you are going to get more of. And so these are the 3 questions that are a part of the daily journal entry for the becoming journal that are going to put your mind into that state of abundance, the conscious self, and not scarcity, the limbic self, and putting you in the gain, not in the gap. So that's just another part of the becoming journal I wanted to explain to you before we actually go ahead and look at the becoming journal together. So with that being said, let's go ahead and cut over to the actual mini training in which I'm going to show you the becoming journal in its full entirety, in its full glory, and I can't wait for you to actually go ahead and see and start to use it. All right, welcome to this quick mini training about the becoming journal, how to use it, how is it formatted, how to print it, all of that good stuff. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. So the very first thing that you need to know is that the becoming journal is designed inside of Google Slides, and it's already been formatted for you in 8.5 by 11, which is the normal printing paper size. Okay, so the very first thing you're gonna have to do when you open up this template is you are gonna have to make sure that you click File, make a copy, and then Entire Presentation. Okay, and then it's already in printable format for you whenever you do finish putting it all together. Okay, then what you're gonna go ahead and do is on this very first page, you're gonna come over here and you're gonna go ahead and where it says name, you're gonna go ahead and put your name there, and then right here as well where it says who is name becoming, you're gonna go ahead and put your name there. So who is like Yasin becoming or whatever, your name there. And then the rest of it, you're going to leave the same. Then on the second page right here is the instructions page. And this is going to be where we have the theme that we talked about inside of the main training, as well as the expiration date that we talked about inside of the main training as well. And then on the instructions page, we have some instructions that are located there as well. So it says here, read your North Stars from beginning to end, first thing in the morning and last thing before bed. This has the power to reprogram you for your goals at an identity level. If you can reprogram your unconscious, subconscious mind, you can tap into the 95% that controls you. Remember, the conscious mind only controls 5% of it. The rest of it is the unconscious mind. So as you read your what, why, who, and transformation statements, read them out loud and envision and picture them and feel the emotions. Have a pen ready so that way you can edit, add, and delete. You're going to be doing your nightly look back. You're going to go ahead and do your nightly planning. And then you want to go ahead and make sure that you remind yourself throughout the day as you become the person that you wish to become. You want to ask yourself at every crossroad, at every decision, what would the person who put in the identity that you are becoming for your becoming journal right now do in this situation? And then that way you can stack those rocks. So that is the instruction page. You can read that every single day if you so needed that reminder. The next thing on here is the key things to remember. So this is just a quick summary that I went ahead and put together for you based on the entire module. Your external world is a reflection of your internal world. Okay, that's a reminder for that. Your current life is 100% your doing, and that's a good thing. That means you have responsibility, the ability to respond. We're going ahead and reminding you of a lens of reality, observing the roller coaster of thoughts and emotions and not riding it, becoming yourself versus the limbic self, right? And then over here, you can go ahead and add other key things that are stuck out to you inside of this module and really start to remind yourself of those things every single day as well, okay? The fourth page on here is the becoming tracker. And so the becoming tracker is going to be where once you print this out, you're going to be tracking your habit for this because what gets measured gets managed, okay? And so it takes around 40 days to fully make anything a part of your system. And so you want to make sure that you are religiously tracking your new character every single day. And then once you complete an entire day's worth of actions, you want to go ahead and fill this out, okay? So you want to make sure you do it for 40 days in a row. And if you do that, you're going to have profound change. Now, some students, they end up getting overwhelmed because they see all 40 days all at once. But what I want you to remember is you just want to focus on tracking one day at a time. And you don't want to worry about the entire 40 days, okay? Because remember, if you don't sacrifice for your goals will become the sacrifice, okay? And so you just have to remind yourself that focus one day at a time. It's just a matter of becoming one day at a time. The next page after that is going to be the what North Star. So we went ahead and talked about that inside of the main training. And we talked about how you're going to take elements from your clear what worksheet and then put those images on this page specifically according to the theme for this becoming journal. Same thing for your why, and then same thing for your who identity as well. So this page, on this one single page, is going to be the summary of who you are becoming. On this one single page is going to be the summary of what you are looking for inside of your life. This one page is going to be the summary of why you want that what, and then this who is going to be is the one that can effortlessly create your what, right? So it says right here, this is the version of myself that achieves my dream life effortlessly. And so you can utilize this page and put pictures of mentors, people that you want to be more like. And a tool that I usually like to use, I go ahead and put a picture of myself here as well. So I go ahead and see, okay, hey, this is who I am. And I see myself associated with all of these mentor pictures. It doesn't have to be mentors either. It could be, other things that are referencing a picture's worth 1,000 words for this who identity, right? You can start to put your character traits, the body type, style, and appearance, routine and schedule, skills and strengths of this version 2.0 identity, the good habits of this 2.0 identity. And then right here, you're going to go ahead and put all of the categories and the roles that you had created, that you had fun with when you were creating them. You can go ahead and put those here at the bottom as well. Now, the big thing I want to go ahead and emphasize with this is all just a template, right? You can edit this and tweak this to whatever feels best for you. And so it doesn't have to be in this way either. You can literally just decide, hey, I didn't like this part. I didn't like the roles and the titles. That didn't really resonate with me. You don't have to include that, right? And so you just want to kind of mold this and shape this into what reminds you of the person that you are becoming in the best way possible, okay? Page number 8 is going to be the transformation statement. So right here, you want to go ahead and make sure that you go ahead and change it and edit it to your name as well. So it's like, hey, Yasin's transformation statements. And then all of the identity statements and character traits that you are developing, that you went ahead and reworded and reshifted based off of that activity, you want to go ahead and put those here. So that way you can read them every single day and every single night. So that way those self-arguments become easier for you to be able to make throughout the day. And then you're going to go ahead and do the same thing for the beliefs that you are reshifting based off of your current disempowering to empowering ones. And then after that, the final page on this one, and this is going to be the one that you might actually end up making multiple copies of. You might end up making just 30 copies for the entire month ahead of time. And so this is just the template where you're going to go ahead and put the journal entry date on here, right? So you go ahead and put, maybe you put 11, right, 15, 22 or whatever. And then right here, you say, cool, this day's intent, this day's intention, this day, aka 11/15/22, is going to be the day of, right here, right, working on sales. This is going to be the day of getting this project done. This is going to be the day of XYZ, right? You go ahead and give a theme. And then you go ahead and put your 3 major targets that you want to get done on this specific day. Okay, so this is what you do the night before for that specific day. Worst come worst, what you do is you do it the morning of, but I preferably like to do it the night before. So that way my mind and my brain has time to prime my nervous system so what it knows what to expect for the next day. So I would highly recommend doing it the night before the actual date. But worst come to worst, if you have to do it, you can do it the morning of, but absolutely make sure that you do it. And then the night of that specific day, you want to go ahead and reflect right here, right? So you want to summarize what happened on this day, right? What is it that I did get done? You want to have that action gratitude, right? How did I do compared to the intention that I set for myself that was set up here, right? You want to kind of compare and contrast it, right? What is one small evidence that I noticed within myself on this day that I am becoming my version 2.0 self, right? So you can start to be able to collect all of your small evidence stories, and those evidence stories are what you can go ahead and utilize and circle back around into your transformation statements, right? Over here, what is it that I do have, right? We're practicing gratitude. Most people focus on what they don't have. What we're doing here is what is it that I do have, right? And that can be in any area of your life. That can literally be the small things. It could be the big things. What is it that I do have? You can just jot a couple of things down there. And then what is it that I do want, right? That can be, again, macro or micro. When we say, what is it that I do want, it might be, hey, what is it that I do want? Let me go ahead and remind myself of my big what. Or it could be, what is it that I do want out of the next day? What is it that I do want over the course of the next week, right? It could be micro or macro, whatever way you want to take it for that specific day. What is it that I do want, okay? And so this is the becoming journal entry that you're going to be going ahead and doing every single day. And that is going to allow you to be able to engage in the work in addition to reminding yourself through your North Stars, which is your what, your why, your who, and your transformation statements. Okay, so again, you want to make sure that you go ahead and print a bunch of these out. You can even put it together in a binder or something like that that's helpful for you, so that way you can have this as your daily becoming journal entry. Okay, so like I said, make sure that you do go ahead and make a copy of this. It is printable format, so that way you can go ahead and print it immediately as well. And that way you can go ahead and start doing your becoming journal every single day. It is so absolutely powerful. With that being said, I will go ahead and catch you back over in the main training. All right, welcome back. So that was the mini training on the becoming journal. It's such an amazing, powerful tool that is going to absolutely change your life as you start to use it every single day. A couple quick points that I do want to go ahead and hit for the becoming journal. As I said, inside of the mini training, make sure you do actually go ahead and make your own copy, make a copy. At this point, it is pretty much a requirement to print it out. This is not something that you're going to be able to look at on your computer every single morning or anything like that. You pretty much have to print it out. Actually, the more investment that you put in making it nice, so if you go ahead and print it out in color, even better, the more investment that you put into it, the more your subconscious brain is going to be able to start to give importance to it. And then the other thing is that you want to make sure that you do keep a pen handy, so that way when you are doing your North Stars every single day, as you're doing your what, your why, your who, your transformation statements, you can start to tweak them and adjust them and course correct them based off of the information that you're learning on a daily basis as you are going through this becoming process. So that's an important key point there as well. Next, I want to go ahead and talk to you about the becoming journal daily routine. So what does it look like to actually do your daily becoming journal on a daily basis, right? So there are going to be two parts that this is going to consist of. And the first part is going to be every morning. And then the second part is going to be every night. And so part one is what we call the morning becoming. And this is going to be where you go ahead and read your North Stars and your transformation statements first thing in the morning, every morning. And what you want to do is you want to go ahead and read out loud your what, your why, your who, and your transformation statements. And you really want to start to envision a picture in your mind of those things being achieved, right? You want to feel all of the positive emotions that are associated with the transformation of your becoming. And you want to let those emotions run through your body. You're going to do that every single morning. And that is the morning becoming, okay? The second part of this is the evening becoming. And in the evening becoming, what you're going to do is this is going to actually be where you do your becoming journal entry. And so you're going to go ahead and do the every night look back, and you're going to evaluate how your day went by finishing your becoming journal entry for the day, right? That's going to be where you go ahead and reflect, okay, what is it that I did get done today? What is an evidence that I had for me becoming? What is it that I do have? What is it that I do want? All of that is going to be the second half of the becoming journal entry. And then what you're going to do is you're going to start a new becoming journal entry every single night for the next day. And then you're going to go ahead and do that first prompt there, which is, okay, what would the person that I am becoming do and focus on that next day? You're going to do that every single night, okay? And then after you do that, what you're going to go ahead and do is you're going to go ahead and read your North Stars and your transformation statements every night as the last thing you do before you go to bed. And then, as always, remember, this is also very important, make sure you have a pen handy as you are doing this, so that way you can edit, add, delete as you do this every morning and night, so that way you can really start to tweak and course correct on a daily basis. Another very important piece that I want to go ahead and bring your attention to is that there really are unlimited possibilities for how you do your becoming journal every single day. We've had many students who actually read their becoming journal and their transformation statements out loud, and they record them as a voice memo on their phone, and then they end up playing it and repeating it to themselves while they fall asleep, right? I myself did that for many years when I first started the becoming journal a very long time ago, right? Even now, I've actually printed out my becoming journal and put it on my bathroom mirror so I see it every single morning. And then on top of that, I've actually gone ahead and printed it out and laminated it, and I've hung it in my shower so I could see it while I'm showering every single morning as well. I still do that to this very day. If you go over to my bathroom, you go over to my shower, you're going to see it there. My wife makes a bunch of jokes about it all the time, okay? And so you can really start to get creative with this. You do not want to dismiss this because it's going to absolutely and completely change your life. And so when we say that there are unlimited possibilities as you start to get creative for this, I really do mean it, right? Even though I joke around that my wife gives me a hard time for that, she actually does the exact same thing herself. And so we really do take this very seriously because we understand that this has the power to change our life. And every single student that has ever taken this seriously has also been able to change their life as a result of this, okay? And so really the bottom line for all of this is that what you put into your becoming journal has the power to become true as long as you come back and revisit it every single day. The becoming journal is the fruits of all of the labor that we have done inside of this entire module. The becoming journal is the tool that is going to be that you utilize in order to shift your paradigm and completely become your version 2.0 self. If after ending this module, you do not continue to go through the becoming journal on a daily basis, this entire module will have been for nothing. The becoming journal is that missing piece that you need in your life in order to completely transform your RAS and prime it for success. And so what I've gone ahead and done is visually, I'm going to show you this belief confirmation cycle, but this time, now we have this tool called the becoming journal. You see here, becoming journal, what you experience every single day further feeds into your becoming journal. Same thing with the BAR cycle, right? The becoming journal that you do every single day, that is your tool by which you are shaping and shifting your beliefs and your identity statements. And then the becoming journal goes ahead and influences the actions that you take. The actions that you take go ahead and influence the experience and the result that you get. And then the experience and the result that you get ends up influencing your becoming journal on a daily basis as you start to course correct. And so this is the power of what it is that we are talking about right now with the becoming journal. But it's not going to be that straightforward because guess what? You are going to, as you start to take action, start facing resistance. And that's what I want to go ahead and talk to you about next, which is some students ask, okay, cool, Coach Yasin, is that it? Like I just do my morning becoming journal and my evening becoming journal every single morning and evening and that's it? Well, here's the thing. Some students are going to struggle with just doing that. And unfortunately, those students are going to have to level up and actually do the work of doing their morning becoming and their evening becoming. But here's the truth. Even when you do that, the truth is that the real hard part is going to happen in between the morning and the evening throughout the day, right? And so yes, the morning and the evening becoming is going to prime your brain so that way you can use your RAS and the confirmation bias to support you. But the real hard work comes when you need to consciously choose different actions, thoughts, and beliefs throughout the day. The real hard work is when your limbic self is overwhelming you with thoughts and emotions of who you think you are, and you need to go ahead and break free and go into observer mode so that way you can become free from your version 1.0 self, right? And so you're going to have to use your transformation statements and you're going to have to argue back to your version 1.0 self, and you cannot let it win that argument. And so once you start taking action towards your North Stars, once you start taking action towards becoming, you will face that resistance. Remember, we talked about the upper limit problem, right? Remember what we talked about why change is so difficult, right? And so life is going to test your resolve on how much you actually want your North Stars. And so I always want you to remember this, is that your external world, your external reality is a reflection of your internal state, just with a delay. And so you need to be patient. You need to maintain your eagerness and your firmness in your choice, and it will come, okay? And so the first time that you go through this identity shifting process, it is going to feel very painful, right? It's going to feel like you are excavating your entire being. It's going to feel like parts of yourself are dying and other parts of yourself are being born because you've never done this before. And that's okay. It's normal, right? This is why most people would rather put this off. This is why most people would rather suffer from Niagara syndrome rather than actually do the work in order to become somebody new, right? They know they need to do it, but they would rather put it off because it's too painful. And the biggest thing that you have to know about all of this is that your version 1.0 self, your current identity, is going to fight for survival. It is going to fight to stay alive, okay? Change, growth, and evolution and becoming does not feel good. And when we say that fight for survival, yes, that's exactly what I mean when we talk about your version 1.0 self. It's going to fight. And so to evolve and become your version 2.0 self, it's going to be like you're experiencing both death and birth at the exact same time. Yes, two of the most difficult things that humans can go through is what is required for this identity shifting process, and you're going to be going through it at the exact same time. But remember this, for a seed to achieve its greatest expression, it must first become completely undone. The shell cracks, its insides come out, and everything changes. To someone who doesn't understand growth, it looks like complete destruction, okay? And so most of the time, when you're making the most amount of progress in life, it feels wildly uncomfortable. The entire time you feel like crap, you're exhausted, you feel like your life is out of balance, you're in a bad mood half the time because you're so tired and you're putting all of this energy into something else, right? And the reason for that is because when you are expanding, that is when you are expending a ton of energy. I'm going to go ahead and say that again. When you are expanding is when you are expending a ton of energy. And this applies to every single area of your life. When you are shifting your identity in your health, when you are shifting your identity in your wealth, in your relationships, in your connection to something greater, it does not matter what it is. This is the process. And this is like a universal law of life. In order to expand, you must first expend. And it does not always feel good in the moment, but it feels good when you become and reach the goal. So rather than labeling a process that is literally a part of life as a problem, remember we talked about labeling human emotions as problems, understand that this is just a fact of the process. It's normal. It's exactly what it's supposed to feel like. It's literally exactly what everyone else feels like. There's nothing wrong with you. So rather than trying to beat yourself up and saying something's wrong and there's a problem that's happening, literally everybody goes through the exact same process. And so in the end, you will encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated. In fact, it's necessary to encounter those defeats because only then can you course correct and you then know who it is that you must become. This is what we are talking about when we talk about facing resistance, okay? And so this is where I want to go ahead and really welcome you. I want to welcome you to your new paradigm because do you now see? Do you now understand why we had to go through this entire module of foundational topics, this entire foundational process of the transformation paradigm in order for you to be able to be ready for this training, right? We had to talk about the dark force holding you back in order for you to understand paradigms and identity. We had to talk about the big lie of identity so that way you could understand why you must become and shift your identity statements. We had to talk about the misguided focus for transformation so that way you could understand that you need to focus on becoming first and not having or doing. We had to focus on the false belief of reality and money so that way you could understand beliefs and be able to shift those beliefs using transformation statements. We had to talk about being a prisoner to thoughts and emotions so that way you could understand why consciousness and being able to choose every single day was so absolutely critical to you becoming your version 2.0 self. We had to talk about declaring ourselves broken so that way you could understand why change is difficult and how it will require for you to rewire your brain. Without all of the foundations that we went over inside of this module, right, you getting to this point that we are talking about inside of this training would have been impossible, right? Do you now see the power of what we've done inside of this module together? For the rest of your life, your eyes have now been opened to being able to create any life that you want. And this applies for yourself, this applies for your family, this applies for your friends, this applies for your future clients. All of them are going to have goals and aspirations in life, and they're going to have a desired situation. And now, with everything that you've learned inside of this module, you now have the power to be able to help not only yourself, but you now have the power to help anyone transform their lives, right? And without all of these topics that you've learned inside of this module, it is impossible for any human being to consciously and scientifically transform their lives. That is the power that you now have, right? And the greatest superpower is the ability to change yourself. And your greatest strength is knowing that you are able to do so, okay? That is the power and that is the strength that this module has given you. And so as long as you work on yourself daily, you are going to be able to watch your life change right before your very eyes. This, my friends, this, ladies and gentlemen, is the fruit of all of the labor that we have done inside of this entire module. It's insane to see all of it come together, right? And so this is where the next thing I want to go ahead and talk to you guys about is about doing the dang work. No excuses. So as we close out this training, as we start to close out this module, there really is only one last topic that I can really leave you with. And it's the most important topic that I can leave you with. Because the truth is that nothing in this entire module is going to mean anything to your life unless you do one thing. And that one thing is doing the dang work no matter what, okay? Now that you have the knowledge, now that you understand the process, what you have to commit to is come hell or high water, you must do the work. It does not matter how many books you read. It does not matter how many courses you take. Until you engage in the work and you do the work in order to become, you will otherwise be stuck forever as your old self, okay? So you need to take this very, very, very seriously. It is not going to happen overnight. You are going to have to engage in the work every single day. You're going to have to engage in it actively and regularly, and you're going to have to ask yourself questions and update your becoming journal on a daily basis, okay? Because dreams will not work unless you do, okay? And so what that means is that it's time to really put in the work of consciously priming our brain every single morning and evening with the Becoming Journal, and then consciously choosing new beliefs and thought patterns that are in alignment with who we are becoming every single day, okay? And so remember at the start of the journey, remember we talked about this in the previous training, at the start of the journey, you cannot see the entire picture, right? We can only focus on our North Stars via the Becoming Journal every single day. And so you want to make sure that you do not fall into that trap. And I'm reminding you of this again, is you want to make sure you do not fall into that trap of being jammed on the how, right? You don't want to get stuck. How is this going to happen? How is this going to happen? How is this going to happen? I can't really take forward action until I understand the entire picture. Don't get stuck with that. Instead, you want to become relentless on your Becoming Journal and the next immediate action step. That is what you need to become relentless on every single day. And then when you take that next action step, only then is the next action step going to become clear and revealed to you. And then eventually, when you've taken enough consistent action over a long enough period of time, that is when the how, the when, and the where is going to start to reveal itself. And that is also going to be when the how, the when, and the where start to fall into place all by themselves. And so in the end, you can become whoever you want to become as long as you put in the work, okay? By becoming whoever you want to become, you then have the power and the ability that you can have whatever it is that you want in life as long as you put in the work, okay? So ultimate freedom literally is now at your fingertips because of this module as long as you put in the work. And putting in the work means that you must become relentless. You must become relentless. What does that mean when you want to become relentless? This is a word that a lot of people don't understand, and I want to really clearly define this word relentless for you, okay? Relentless means that every single setback, every single struggle, every single failure, every single criticism only makes you want it more. Constant, incessant, persistent, continuing, continual, continuous, nonstop, never-ending, unbating, unceasing, endless, unflinching, unending, unremitting, unrelenting, unrelieving, unfaltering, unflagging, untiring, unwavering, dogged, tenacious, single-minded, unshakable, tireless, uncompromising, unforgiving, unstoppable, undeviating, unflagging, ruthless, adamant, implacable, ferocious, rigorous, determined, dead set on, unbending, obdurate, stop at nothing, unyielding, unshakable. Come hell or high water, you must get it done. You will get it done. That is what it means to be relentless, okay? This is what it means to take relentless action. This is what it means to be relentless in your pursuit of what you want out of life. I promise you that is what it requires in order for you to be able to live your entire potential inside of your life. If you are not relentless, then you will not get what you want out of life. And so this is what I would urge you to do, is I would urge you to become relentless in your pursuit of what you want out of life, okay? And so what that means, it means that it's time to become. And these really are my closing thoughts for this, is that you might not be ready right now, but it is through the process by which you will become ready, okay? You don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are, okay? You can have more than you have right now because you can become more than you are right now. Where you are in your life right now is 100% your doing, whether it was conscious or it was unconscious. And life does not happen to you. If you wake up to life, life happens through you. The scariest place to be is the same place as last year. And so that is what I want to go ahead and do is I want you to go ahead and meet your version 2.0 self. It's time to get to work. It's time for relentless action. It's time to grow. It's time to evolve. It's time to become via the becoming journal. Okay. And so as we start to close out this training, just like we've done for the last couple trainings, I will go ahead and talk to you about commenting on the student community post first. And then I will go ahead and talk to you about your action steps. Okay. So what I would love to hear from you in the student community post for this training is, now that you've completed all of module 2 in its entirety, what are your thoughts on this entire module? What are your thoughts on the becoming journal, right? How life-changing has this module been for you and why? And how excited are you to become your version 2.0 self and create your version 2.0 life? Okay, so that is the engagement question for this specific training. And let's go ahead and now talk about your action steps for this training. Okay, so action step number 1 is going to make sure that you watch this training in full. Okay, action step number 2 is make sure you go ahead and complete the student engagement question that we just spoke about from above. Okay, action step number 3 is going to be for you to go ahead and assemble your becoming journal. Okay, and then action step number 4 is, once you've gone ahead and completed your becoming journal, you're going to go ahead and comment on the becoming journal post inside of the student community. And you're going to go ahead and let us know, now that you've compiled your becoming journal, what are your thoughts? How are you feeling, right? What was the most transformational part of this entire process for you? And what are you the most excited for? And obviously this goes without saying, I haven't even put it on here, but I'm going to go ahead and say this anyways, is that once you do all of this, you need to actually do your becoming journal every single day. You need to do the dang work exactly like we talked about. So put in the dang work. So those are your action steps for this specific training. And as we really start to close this out, I want to go ahead and remind you one last time that throughout your life, this is going to be a never-ending process. Okay, so remember, over time, as you become your new version 2.0 self, that is going to become your new baseline. And so what that means is that eventually, that new version 2.0 self, because of the hedonic treadmill, because of the homeostatic impulse, that's eventually going to become your version 1.0 self. And then you're going to have to evolve again into a new version 2.0 self, right? And so in every season, in every chapter of your life, you are going to have to redefine your version 1.0 self. You're going to have to redesign your version 2.0 self, and you will need to reset your North Stars and recreate your becoming journal in order to restart the becoming process. And this is even bigger than the 90 days of becoming journal, right? Because the 90-day becoming journal is still within the confines of your version 1.0 to version 2.0 self. This is even bigger than that. I'm talking about like a complete overhaul when you get to a new season of life, right? And so this is a constant, never-ending evolution of life, unless you actually just plan on staying stagnant and not having a better life at every single season of your life, okay? And so that means that this training, this module, is something that you are going to need to return to at every turning point in your life. And as long as you do the work, you will forever be able to be free and have this superpower to transform your life at every season of your life. It has been an honor inside of this module. I can't wait for you to start putting this together and start implementing it inside of your life. This is Coach Yasin, and I will catch you inside of the next training.